Well, finally here this evening in Paris, Nantes are about to take on Toulouse in the French Cup final at the Stade de France. But there are several important talking points away from the pitch to discuss, including a unique protest at Macron's pension reform. To help us understand what's at stake, I'm joined in the studio by France 24's sports maestro and editor James Vasina, as well as Eurosport's Ruben Slagter, who joins us via Skype. Ruben, I'm going to start with you. From what you've seen of the protests so far, what do you make of them?
Well, we're now just waiting what will really happen, because there's a lot of stuff going on around the stadium right now. We have seen that there was an idea to be whistling and showing a red card on the 49th minute, referring to the famous 49.3 law of Macron. But we're now informed that those red cards and whistles has been taken by security. So we will see what will happen during the game. We also know that when you say to football supporters not to do something, that they will do exactly the opposite. So yeah, it's let's wait and see for during the game.
And James, you see those live images that there while Ruben was talking about with those fans. Obviously, there was the Champions League final. That was the last major footballing event to take place there. That was back in May last year. Now, what we've anticipated with this, what do you make of the way that fans are being treated from those images that you can see?
Well, I think even further from the images is what's going to be going on inside the stadium, because the main point that has been going on is that the Stade de France has taken the decision to put those fences up in front of some of the stands. That sends a very clear message. It brings a pretty hostile environment for fans, whether you like it or not. We know that we're going into this with, it's a pretty tense atmosphere. Obviously, it's a cup final, but also for the other reasons as just mentioned. But you go into there as a fan and you're put there inside a cage, which on top of that has spikes on the top. It's not telling you that, you don't feel that welcome there, or at least you're being made to feel as though you are a threat. So outside of that, outside of the psychological side of the fences, there's also obviously the logistical bits, which is we don't need to recall. We should, but hope that there's nothing. These things shouldn't happen, but the disasters that have happened in football stadiums very often have been due to fences like this. Obviously, the like of Heysel, the like of Hillsborough, and this really it's something that you can't forget. And when you see fences like that, any football fan gets scared. We're told those fences can come down if needed, but then in that case, why put them up?
Exactly. And Ruben, what do you make of that French policing style for football matches?
If I may just jump in on the fences, because I've worked quite some time for the stadium as well, so I know a bit about the fences, and they only put them up for the high-risk games, which we can also say that Toulouse-Nantes is not a high-risk game. It's a high-risk game because Macron is there and because they're afraid of people want to get on the pitch. That's the only reason. But if there will be an emergency, we can think about the 13th of November when the fences, if I'm not mistaken, were also up before France against Germany. They will take them down straight away. So I completely understand the hostile environment, etc. That's clear. But they in terms of security, they know what they do. Sorry, what was the question?
The question, Ruben, is have you seen a change in the policing style of the French police now ahead of this match? And what do you make of French football policing in general?
Yeah, we've had the discussion before. I remember also after that famous Champions League final last year, you can see that there is a lot of they don't really know how to handle it. It was also because it's changing all the time what they have to do. Before the game, we had been told that there was no protest was possible. Then there came the point, I think 4 hours ago, that we heard that it was possible. Now that we're taking in again those cards, it's the famous French organization of a football game. But we also have to say that it's in 1 year we'll have the Olympics in France with a lot of main events in the Stade de France, and this is not giving a good sign to the world how to organize a sport event, in my opinion.
That's it, and this is why obviously this game is going to be watched not just in France, but obviously if there is anything, just any kind of slight amount of scuffles or whatever, this is going to be picked up on and it's going to be looked at very, very closely, because this is France's image that's at play. It's a big game since last year's Champions League, which we know how that ended. And of course, our team who was there on the ground was in the middle of that at the time. It was hard for journalists, obviously, there. So for anyone going, but France needs to polish its image, basically, and show that it is capable of holding big events like this in the Stade de France again, ahead of the Rugby World Cup and, of course, of the Olympics, as Ruben mentioned.
So what are you hoping happens here, James?
Well, we're going to hope that there's going to be a calm night, as calm as it can be. Obviously, the battle isn't only going to be on the grounds; it's going to be also within the stands, as we've seen, especially for Emmanuel Macron. I think that's where things are going to be ready for him. We've heard that he's not going to be going down onto the pitch, neither to greet the players nor to hand the cup after that. So for Macron, it's going to be about hoping that that things don't, for anyone, that things don't, overflow after that.
And Ruben, final question. Back to the football. What do you expect the result to be?
It's quite a strange final because Nantes are the defending champions and had quite a great season in the cups, also in Europe. But in the Ligue 1, they are disastrous and they're almost being relegated. So there's quite a lot of things going on in Nantes. Toulouse is a completely different story. They are, for a few years now, they're constructing a team. And they're doing a fantastic job. So if you look, honestly, who deserves it more, I think Toulouse. I think that Nantes also, because all those fans that will be there with them, maybe it will give them a little bit extra. But if I would choose, if I have to choose one team, it will be Toulouse tonight.
Toulouse, and one score prediction, James?
No, I mean, look, I think it would be a beautiful story for Toulouse to win. Let's see some goals on both sides. I think we'll be happy with that, and maybe an extra one for Toulouse would be beautiful for them. For a great story for them. It's been so long.
We'll see how it does transpire. Ruben, Slagter, James Vasina, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and of course we will have that result for you for the game following the match here on France 24. That's the news for now. We'll be back with you in a couple of minutes.